Hi everyone, today's video is about how you can create your own data analyst. I'm going to show you how you can interact with your data from a CSV file, Excel file, how you can actually derive insights from it. We're going to be using CrewAI, Weaviate, and ExaSearch tool. Those are tools that will allow you to create your own recommendation engine and extract information online. This tutorial is about a VC analyst who's going to be extracting information about AI agents, identify the ones that are worth building, and then back this up with market research so that he can generate a report and then come up with his investment thesis. This use case is also for any entrepreneur who wants to figure out what to build next. The information I'm going to show you is all proprietary data that I've collected over the past couple of months. So we're going to interact with that information and then generate reports about which AI agents to build. Very excited, and let's get going. Oh, and by the way, my name is Vlad. I'm the founder of Elements Agents. We build AI agents for clients who want to automate their onboarding, customer support, recruitment. There are lots of use cases that we build for every week. If there's a specific use case you want to talk about, just book an appointment with me below. We're going to audit your workflow and I'm going to tell you what to build and whether you should build it. All right, so let's go back to the tutorial and dive a little bit more into the workflow. So the workflow is going to do the following. We're going to extract data about the task that companies want to automate. So to give you an example, let's say a customer said, I'm currently spending 20 hours per week handling inbound calls from customers. Then we're going to vectorize this data. All you need to know is this is a way to interact with information later on. Then we're going to derive insights. So once you have that data that is vectorized, you can actually interact with it. So in a database, if you have 200 tasks that customers are trying to automate, then you'll be able to, as a database, okay, so what are the industries that are the most likely to benefit from voice agents, or what are the roles which are losing the most money on a specific task? So all of that information is actually something that I've already collected, and we're going to be interacting with that info. Then if you're an investor or even an entrepreneur, you want to make sure that this use case is not like completely isolated. So you want to actually back it up with market research. And then finally, we're going to generate a report. So coming back to the example of the voice agents, logistics companies are actually very much struggling to hire qualified workforce to handle those inbound calls. So this is like the major hurdle to their growth. So the report is actually going to be a thesis for a VC analyst to actually say, okay, we actually need to find a voice agent that supports logistics companies, because this is a big market where there's a big pain point that we have identified, and we're going to do this for hundreds of AI agent use cases automatically. So needless to say, like massive time saver and very actionable. All right, so here we have some information about some tasks that companies have been trying to automate. So for instance, review pipeline status, mapping SKUs to shipments, reconciling purchase orders. And here's the amount of money that companies have been spending on that specific task every year. And we're going to use that information and then vectorize it using Weaviate. It's an open source vector database, and I'm going to show you through the tutorial how you can do that. Then in order to make sure that those are actual trends, we're going to support them by scraping different articles online using ExaSearch. ExaSearch is basically querying the web using LLMs. So you could think that it's a little bit like Perplexity, except that you can integrate it directly into your AI agents. Then finally, we're going to be generating some reports, which will look like this. Here's an example of a report. So Cloud GPU sales agent. So the task of this customer is selling Cloud GPU for AI inferences. We can see that the amount that they would be saving every year is around $66,000. Cloud GPUs, for obvious reasons, are crucial for accelerating AI workloads. And this agent, there is a little use case justifying why to invest or why to build this agent. So we're going to be doing this for all of the database, and we're going to be using CrewAI, which is a multi-AI agent framework, to do that. If you want to learn more about how to build your own crew, I have more in-depth tutorials on how you can build using CrewAI. So now let's dive into the code. So before we dive into the crew, one critical step to be able to interact with the data from the Excel sheet is to actually pre-process that data and vectorize it. So here we have a script where we're going to be taking all the information from the Excel sheet. You can see, for instance, test development using Selenium. So we're basically going to send that information to Weaviate and vectorize it. So it's going to be using text embedding 3 small, which is the embedding model of OpenAI, to vectorize that information. That information is going to be sent out to Weaviate, and this collection name is Agents 19. So Agents 19 is the collection that we have here with the different columns that were mapped out correctly, where we've defined the type of that column. So now that the data has been vectorized, we can actually ask questions to that database. So instead of writing a complex query, you can just casually ask a question. So if we are to ask the database, which industries would most greatly benefit from using an AI with? This is going to return a client who asked receiving calls for the company, setting up appointments. So this is a use case. Then we have a customer support company that wants to train its human agents to achieve like a better performance. And then we have customer service in Italy, where this client actually wants to book appointments and save time on that. So now we have pre-processed the Excel sheet into a vectorized database. We created the tool, the custom tool that our agents will be able to use to then query that database. I'm going to show you how we are tying everything together into the Crew using CrewAI. So let's go over it. We have one agent who's called a RAG agent who's going to call that custom tool and then ask questions to the database. Then we're going to have a second agent who's going to use the exact search tool to complement the information that we have. So coming back to the example of the customer support agent, the expense details agent is going to do some research about that space. And then finally, we're going to have a report agent who's going to consolidate all of that information and then define what kind of AI agents we should build and how this is actually addressing the major pain points in that industry. Here are the corresponding tasks. If you're familiar with CrewAI, I'm just going to go over the different tasks and how we configure them. So the RAG agent is being configured in this YAML file where we're saying use the Weaviate vector search tool to then ask questions to the database. Then we have the expense details agent who's going to be using the exact search tool to then scrape and then extract additional information about each of these AI agents use cases. And it's going to specifically look up for information like market size, market growth, market challenges, and just market notes about that specific industry. And then finally, we're going to have a report agent who's going to actually dig through all of that data and then come up with an investment thesis, or which basically means like, should I build this AI agent or should I invest in that space? Here is an example of the final report where we have the agent that came up with the investment thesis for 10 different agents, where it's basically looking up for how much the client is spending on this problem today, how fast the market is growing, how big the market is, and then finally it's coming up with a thesis on how this AI agent is going to tackle the core problem in this industry. So if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a VC analyst, this is probably going to help you in figuring out what are the AI agents that would have the biggest impact on a specific industry, how they should actually communicate it, and how they could potentially price it as well. One additional best practice when you use CrewAI is to structure your output. So here we are basically creating an agent object where we're going to be gathering information from the company activity, task, location, and role. So all of that is coming from the CSV file in a way, but then we're actually going to complement that agent object with information that we collected using the exact search tool, such as the market size, the market category, the market growth, market changes, and market notes. And we're kind of explaining the agents how to populate those fields. All right, so now I'm just gonna go and run the Crew. So the query here is, let's say I wanna do a deep dive into voice agents. So best use cases for custom voice agents. And now it's gonna run my Crew and generate a full report for me about the opportunities, the industries in which I should build them. As you can see, it's running. So it's extracting all of the information from the database. So training customer support, customer service in Rome, it's telling us how much money they would be saving. Then as you can see here, we have default values which equal to null because it hasn't used the exact search tool yet. It's starting now. So customer support training market size India 2023. So it's going to be extracting that information. So you can see here, it's basically calling the exact search tool. Customer care chatbot market size Italy. So it's getting quite specific and then it's trying to populate those fields. So here you can see that it's populated the additional fields, so market category, professional training services with the market size, market growth, 10% year-on-year rate, market challenges are high turnover rates and so on. And then finally, let's look at the reports. So it worked. So AI agent for professional training services in India. So money saved per client every year is around $50,000. So the market size is $2 billion US, growing at a 10% rate. The biggest challenges are high turnover rates, rapid tech changes, and measuring training effectiveness. So why build this agent? So here it's making the case for it. So the AI agent is designed to help train the customer support agents to be more efficient. This is going to address the higher turnover rates. The AI agent can significantly reduce the time and resources required for new hires to reach proficiency. It's replicating that for AI agents for customer service. Yeah, so that's pretty much how this works. All of the code that you see here is going to be available on my GitHub. If you want to schedule a meeting to go over your workflow, or if you have more questions about this tutorial, feel free to book a meeting with me. The link is going to be in the description below. Otherwise, I'm going to see you next week with another use case.